we're getting updated.
Nope.
Doesn't
All
need
right.
to be.
We should be live. Can I get an audio check?
Check, 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 check.
Fantastic.
Testes 1, 2, 3.
So not okay.
All right, looks like we're all in business.
Awesome. All right. We're going to do something different today, y'all. We are going to be dungeon creators.
We're dungeon tycoons, even.
We are dungeon tycoons. But we're not just going to build a dungeon. And actually, I just realized something. I didn't hit that button.
What button did you not
hit? Is that an
hit?
important button?
It is an important button.
What button is it?
It's the button that buttons.
Huh. It is the recording button that will no longer work.
Uh-oh.
Did you button the button too much?
I might have too many programs running at one time for my computer, apparently, which has never been an issue before.
Well, what can you close?
Nothing.
Uh-oh.
Well, you turn off the never mind. Oh wait, we're not a family-friendly channel. Turn off the porn. You don't need that running.
Alright, getting rid of that. I don't need
Stop
the pen tablet.
torrenting the new season of whatever dumb show. You know. I don't know. Is that still a thing? Do people still torrent shows?
I would highly doubt it, but
I don't know. I haven't sailed the high seas for a show, but I might need to for Vox Machina. Because Amazon, yo.
I still need
All right.
on it.
Seriously though, I'm in a moral quandary. Like, what if Amazon was like, "Oh yeah, we'll totally produce an animation for your campaign," and be like, "Oh God, it's everything I've ever wanted, but it's also Amazon."
just like Disney, you do it because do you really have another option?
No. Would I become a sellout? You know what? I'm talking like this isn't actually ever going to be a thing. So what?
But that's also not really selling out in the same way. If you're still being able to use your full creative stuff, they're only fronting the money.
Well,
and
true.
The platform. I mean, I guess you could kind of say it's selling out, but it's like at least that money is going towards something that's going to hopefully bring some joy as opposed to more rocket ships.
True. Oh my gosh. I also
rocket ships could bring joy if they were being done for good purposes and not just that a rich guy can say he went to space.
True.
Because I want us to go to Mars.
And
in the near future.
I already have an animation studio in mind that I would totally hire if we got the money for it. I would get Onkama to do it. The French studio that makes Wakfu, because I like their style.
Cool. I have no preferences, so.
Because their style is pretty much my style because I like it that much that I've decided to
emulate it.
To emulate it very hard.
I mean, you would be the artistic director if we were if we were doing something like that. So that would fully be your decision anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So.
My LinkedIn title is art director of Roll for Initiative.
I love it.
Like, wow, that sounds pretty high. Are you pretty high and mighty? Are you getting paid for that? No.
No.
I'm getting paid in experience.
Yeah. We're getting paid in exposure. Only not really.
Oh, that makes me feel bad.
Well, hey, it's not like you're keeping the money for yourself. The only thing any of the Patreon money's been used for is for us to advertise more, to try and get to a point where we could all be paid for it.
Although, I would like to put in a budget request.
Okay.
For a Kevin MacLeod song.
Oh.
Try and license a song.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Because it supports them, and you don't have to do the whole entire attribution thing.
Yeah. No. See how much it is, and I'm
Well-
down for it.
It's 20 euros.
How
Oh, that's
much
not
is
bad at
that?
all. That's like
Uh,
40 bucks.
No, it's way less than it's like $24 or something like that.
Oh,
hell
really?
yeah!
It used to be closer to double. I guess it's gone back down.
put me to the link. Set it up. I'll pay for that.
Wait,
Anyways,
not now. I'll do it later.
we're dungeon
Yeah.
tycoons.
I mean,
All
we
right.
are. Unfortunately, this will probably not go out on YouTube.
What? Oh, you still can't record it?
It looks like I'm gonna have to uninstall.
Can we rip it off of Twitch afterwards? Because Twitch saves it.
might be
Yeah,
able to.
there's a way to download on Twitch. Let me just double check my output here. All right, change encoding.
Double check your output.
Is that a kobold with sunglasses? That's cool.
They're his goggles, because kobolds have sensitivity to light, so he has Lyritic glasses.
Look at me with your special eyes.
What are we looking at that we're seeing?
Oh, on
Whirlwind.
it's the layout thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not looking at it.
So we've got Grog, we've got Wizard Drizzit, and Wilwyn. I don't know. Those could be actual characters you guys have made, but those are the names I've given them, except for Wilwyn, because I learned his actual name now.
That was who I played in Zero's evil campaign.
Oh wait, Wilwyn was a kobold?
Yeah.
He's a kobold artificer. Yep.
But you looked like a halfling all the time.
What do you mean?
I could have sworn you looked like you were like this, or were you just always disguised as a halfling?
He was disguised
yeah,
as a halfling
disguised
or as a
as-
small child a lot.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Oh,
All right. Well, we'll pull it off of Twitch if we have to, or we just won't put this up. I will.
I mean, this is not going to be as entertaining necessarily because it's going to be a lot of like, well, what if we did this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as much as I try to be funny like Sam Riegel, I'm just not.
It's hard to be that naturally funny, so.
I'm naturally entertaining. Ha ha ha! I'm a narcissist. I think is one of the lines he said.
Fun times. Okay, well. So, with this, we have a couple of things that we're going to do to get this up and running. I do have a OneNote open to take notes and write down, like, rules and
Sweet.
stuff so that we can get working on this. I'm going to throw that over here. And then I do have the perchance open. So we have so the way this kind of is working out, and correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but we're going to have a random generator to determine what kind of client is wanting to build the dungeon.
Yes.
And then there will be a list of various, like, resources, or you can just option your own. Like, you can role play it, or you can use some suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Which we're mostly just going to be kind of like role playing it off the cuff for this, as we're kind of trying to create it.
Yeah, we're
But we're gonna try and create
this
this as like an actual like written down, typed up system, to where you could do it all off of a lot of rolls to determine a lot of it and things like that, to try and to be able to build a dungeon with.
It's dungeon dice, but with extra steps.
Yeah.
And then the goal would be eventually you would have, like, pre-made heroes who could go through the dungeon
To
and
test it.
kind of like boss monster, go through it to see how far they get,
Mm-hmm.
and go from there.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? The large scale fighting system in the rules would be really good for a
You could definitely
mechanic
use
for that.
The other thing could be that you use it for one shots with other players, and so they have to try and solve the dungeon. And then that helps you determine how well the dungeon did, and then you can go back to the drawing board if need be. So, but we wanted to make it fully compatible with Dungeons and Dragons, so that you can use it. You can play a game where you build a dungeon for fun, and then you can use it in a later campaign.
Yeah.
So like DMs can be like, hey, you know, like someone's not here today, which is why we're doing this today. Someone can't be here today. Let's all build a dungeon together, and then we just give it to whoever's planning on running a campaign that thinks they want to use it, you know. And then they can take it to their other campaigns or what have you. So, or you just build it, and then you build, and that was it. You built it. It was fun. There you go.
Yeah.
So
for visual sake, I have Dungeon Painter Studio pulled up, but really you could do this with paper and pencil or Theater of the Mind even.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely go old school dungeon design like I used to do, which is drawing it out on graph paper. Back in my 3.5 days, that's what I did.
Ew, you're old.
Oh, I know. I'm the youngest one on screen right now.
I'm out.
I taught Chuck how to play Dungeons and Dragons. So I take full credit for Roll for Initiative being a thing, because I taught Chuck how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
4th edition. So trial by fire, which is part of the reason he's become such a good DM, because he had to learn in such a crappy edition.
Dude, 4th edition will always have a soft spot in my heart.
I actually love 4th edition, but I was like, man, I'd love to run a 4th edition campaign again. I started flipping through one of the books, and I was like, how did I play this? It's so needlessly complex.
All right, guys, you know what? Screw it. 2nd season, 4th ed.
I'll do it. I'll do it if someone else runs it.
Yeah, I'll run it.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Who do you think's running season 2?
I made that's true. I made a rogue wizard hybrid, because you did hybrid classes. You didn't multi-class. You did hybrid classes. So they were both classes from the very beginning. And I leveled them up to level 21, and the whole thing was like, turn invisible, go up to someone, put your hand on their face, and cast Fireball.
So the reason I liked 4th ed is because I like to play a lot of martial characters, and
they got a lot more to do.
They were just way more. Martial characters are so much more interesting in 4th ed than they are in any other edition.
I will agree with that. I think the problem a lot of people had was that it kind of took away the differences that each class had, because although they had different advantages to like types of things they could do, they all kind of played the same way, you know?
Yeah,
true. You chose your powers, and every class kind of felt like a different form of spellcaster.
To be honest, I think that Battle Master should just be baseline for 5th ed fighter.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Master is widely considered the best fighter subclass.
I think fighters should just get Battle Master.
They should maybe get like at least the amount of like the feat. There's that feat that gives you a couple Battle Master things. Like all fighters should get that. Yeah,
like a slimmed down version of Battle Master. They should be able to do at least a few maneuvers as part of their fighter thing, or else
maybe they'll update the fighter that way with the new stuff that's going to come out in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Because they're saying they haven't said it's a new edition, because it's going to be fully compatible with all the current stuff. So it seems like there's the way the new supplements have been coming out and kind of like fine tuning and fixing some of the small issues, like we talked about with like your monsters. Now they have all of the spell descriptions listed in the monster.
Oh, that is nice.
So you don't have to flip open the appropriate book to find out what the spell does and stuff. Little things like that they're going to be putting in. Pretty much all spellcaster subclasses now get expanded spell lists. Some of the early ones didn't have that.
Yeah.
So it causes some of the newer ones to actually kind of have a leg up on the older ones, because they have extra spell options and things like that.
Like Moon Druid doesn't get spell options.
Yeah. And so hopefully if they keep all of those same classes, they would just be like, hey, in this new player's handbook, there's a few pages dedicated to all of the previous subclasses that show you the couple of extra changes they've gotten just to bring them up to the new level. So mechanics will all be the same, it just will give them a couple extra things. So
All right.
who knows?
So,
Maybe they'll do
let's
all new
roll.
stuff.
Should we
Yes.
find out who our client is going to be?
Yeah, let's find
Yes,
out.
who is our
Wait.
client?
Let's come up with who our specialists are going to be first.
All
Or do we
right.
want to pick them after we know what dungeon we have to make?
I would say you'd pick your specialists after you find out the dungeon because you want to.
Okay. So we don't have like a list of specialists yet, so we're probably just going to come up with our specialists today, which will be fun.
Actually,
it'll be very light character creation.
All right. So we're going to have a set time based off of the difficulty of how many weeks, and I think it would be like whatever the difficulty cap is times 5.
All right.
Okay.
Should be how many weeks we have to get this done. Every time you order a so difficulty cap
Yeah, we're making this up as we go along.
times
viewers,
5 equals number of weeks to get the dungeon
complete.
done.
Yeah.
How many tasks should you have in a week before the week is up, or should it be?
Well, I think it should be like this. If you're gonna design, is it gonna be like you're designing it room by room, or are we gonna do it more? You design it kind of like in larger chunks.
I was thinking that
So
you had certain tasks would take a certain amount of time, and then a week is up, and then you can move on to the next week.
Okay.
And then based on rolls, something could go wrong during that
So
week.
you have certain X amount of weeks, but then each task takes X amount of days to complete.
Yeah.
Which determines how many. So you could still. Yeah, I like that. So we would just have to determine how long we want certain things to take. Obviously, like the basic like just creating a room should only take like a day.
Yeah.
Maybe based on the size and shape of the room, maybe like a 10 by 10 room takes a day. Or every 10 by 10 cube of a room that you want takes a day. So if you wanted to build a bigger room, and then we could also build it in like you have like some rooms to start with or something like that. Like you have X amount for free already.
Yeah.
That they had already, that we'd have to probably build that into the random generator. We don't have that today, obviously, but that could be something we could try to do later. Because like if someone wanted like the volcano theme, well then it's like, okay, well there's already a river of lava here, so we can just build some traps around that, and then we don't have to, dig a whole new tunnel.
If you want to get through this dungeon, you have to ninja warrior your way over a river of lava.
That's cool.
Ladder climb. Dexterity saving throw. I rolled a 1. And you are dead.
Yeah.
What's funny is if you hit lava, you actually wouldn't sink in it.
No, you'd explode.
Your body
all
would
of the
just
water
boil.
in your body would turn into steam instantaneously, almost instantaneously.
It's the Leonfrost effect.
That's not cool.
They did a thing to show it because I was watching this thing. These scientists were like, "Yeah, you don't sink into lava." And they said, "Here's a bag full of plant matter, so organic matter." And they threw it into a volcano. it just explodes, and it starts a little miniature eruption because of the sudden turmoil on the surface of the lava.
So the end of Lord of the Rings could have been way worse.
Yes.
Oh man. So specialist hires should be what? You can hire 2 per day? 1 per day?
Well, I think you have to choose your specialists for the whole dungeon design.
Okay.
I don't think it's on a day-by-day basis.
So what are the specialists?
Sorry, the way I was thinking of it is, like, you can hire as many specialists as you want, but it's going to take up time to go through the hiring process.
Oh, we're not the specialists. We have to recruit them.
We're the company. We're Dungeon Designers Ltd. And we hire specialists who have different abilities to try and make the. It's kind of the
Okay.
way we were looking at it, yeah. And you can
Okay.
role play as the specialists, but that way it's not like I'm not limited to like I have to always be this character with this kind of stuff, you know.
I gotcha.
And
So
one
that's why
thing's
I was think the way I looked at it, and obviously we
Mhm.
can discuss this and do it differently. The way I looked at it was that you choose a certain number of specialists. You can still design whatever you want in your dungeon, but if you design the things that are what they're good at, it takes less time.
okay.
So I was thinking that you chose like for example, for three of us, we would have 3 specialists that you would get
Okay.
for the entire duration of the dungeon design.
Okay.
So you have to
Here's a
try and
thought.
build around their strengths. Go ahead.
How about in order to just get the randomness and like the playing, what if like there was also you had randomly generated specialists and you had to try to play to their strengths? Like you don't get to pick them. I have a volcano dungeon, and then these are my specialists that I have to work with.
Ooh.
That could be interesting.
You could do both. You could have it where you pick, and that's an easier mode,
Yeah.
and then a random
Mhm.
one where it's a harder mode.
Yeah, we could definitely do both. But yeah, that's the way I looked at it, was that it would be specialists throughout the whole duration of the dungeon design. But if you wanted to do it, is that in that you hire a specialist to do a certain task.
Well, I was saying for the whole thing, but let's say it's only one person doing this, and they want to role play the whole thing. They want to do it solo. They're not stuck with only one specialist. They can pick how many you want, or even if you're playing with 2 people.
Well, the number wouldn't have to be equal to the number of players. I was just throwing that out as as an easy way to do it. You could always hire like as many. So yeah, okay. So you can hire as many specialists as you want, and they are for the duration of the entire dungeon creation. But it takes a certain amount of time to hire specialists.
All right. So we should write down what are the specialist types, or we should come up with.
Well, I had a few that I wrote down somewhere. Let me see.
Because I'm thinking like monster wrangler.
Yep.
I had the artificer is good at traps, a ranger for wrangling beasts, a necromancer for summoning undead, a warlock who can summon devils and demons and do other magical type things, an evil wizard that can cast illusions and stuff like that. Are the ones that I came up with the other day.
You'd probably want like, would we not have like a generic architect an architect who's good at like, oh, I don't know, designing the room layouts?
Yeah, you could do just a basic like an architect, like kobolds are really good at trap designs and stuff like that. But what's a race that's like
Dwarves? They're good at digging into mountains.
Duergar, the dark evil under dark dwarves.
Sure, yeah.
Since we're bad guys. No, we're good guys. We're entrepreneurs.
Exactly. Hey.
Yeah, so a Duergar architect who just helps design, makes it faster to build rooms.
Yeah.
Larger rooms, as well as like digging like spike traps, just pitfall basic traps and things like that.
All right. I feel like they all would eventually. We'd all have to lay out like a stat block or something for like what they're good at that helps.
Yeah,
with
the way I
roles.
was looking at it was like each one would have. It would just be like they make doing these types of things cost less time.
It's the dungeon specialist LinkedIn profile.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah. Well, I was like, if we actually type this up into a document, there was going to be like a little profile thing for each specialist. And so, it would have what they were good at. We could totally design it to look like a LinkedIn page.
Dude, I kind of want to draw like what each of these guys has as their LinkedIn picture.
Yes.
That'd be fun. So whichever ones we pick today, let's come up with a little bit more specific information about them, just for the sake of it.
I'm gonna let you guys come up with their specific information because I'm gonna end up drawing it.
So and we can if we decide we come up with a different idea for another specialist, we can do that. So we can get as many specialists as you want. So
who's
we have
good
to determine
with explosives?
Ooh.
Kobolds typically are good with all that kind of stuff.
Boom.
They're the tinkery type of dudes.
So I feel like you need at least a couple different kobolds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kobolds.
You have a kobold artificer that does like the magic-y things, and then you have like a kobold like engineer that makes
Yeah.
like mechanical traps,
Well, okay,
or
so
even a goblin.
we can really D&D this up in that there can be a race. So kobolds are the engineers. Duergar are the architects.
Mm.
Oh, and you have a specialist and like a subclass for the specialist.
Yeah, so they have their race and their class.
There you
Dungeon
go.
Tycoon
And
5e.
each one gives them slight bonuses to different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And then so
I like
the
that.
elves, the drow, what would the drow be? Would be the magician, the magic users.
They'd have magic, but then also they'd probably, yeah, actually no, because then any one of them could be whatever class.
Yeah.
So you could be a kobold that's also the ranger, so they have a little bit of bonus to the mechanical from being a kobold, but then they get the monster bonuses for being the ranger. So yeah, so drow would definitely be the more magical side of things. I was thinking liches or demi liches as well could be magical type ones, but they would also get a bonus to like the undead, obviously.
Great.
So they would get bonuses to undead magic, and then they could also be another type of like magical thing on top of that with their class.
I'm gonna roll a d6, and I will click the randomize button that many times
Okay.
because I have the perchance thing open. I could just click it once, but what's the fun in that? I want it truly random. All right.
So we'll figure out
6.
who our client is, and then we'll.
And if you don't believe me, it's a 6.
There it is. I see it. Looks like a 9 to me.
Oh yeah, I rolled a 9 on a d6. I'm just that good. You
We need to take you to Vegas.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The
Okay.
client is a beholder. They want a
Oh.
3-story lair with a volcano motif. They want to focus on traps with a difficulty cap of 12.
Ooh, so we get a lot of options then with that high of a difficulty cap. So that's actually really good because beholders they can float.
Yes.
So you'd want to design it with a lot of verticality.
Yep.
Which
3
means
stories.
a lot of falling traps. So we would use the 3 stories. Some of the rooms would be the whole 3 stories.
All right, guys. I'm
And
thinking.
there wouldn't be stairs. There's not going to be stairs and ladders. There's just going to be vertical tunnels.
All right, so I want to roleplay the Drugar, Draugar,
Duergar.
Duragar. Yes.
Okay.
All right, folks. So what I'm thinking here, it's gonna be lovely. You're gonna have a full height foyer, all 3 stories.
Let's see, a volcano motif.
And on the back wall, it's gonna be lit up by fall, like a waterfall of lava, a lava fall, a magma fall. Gorgeous. And
I
then,
want traps.
so on the back wall of the foyer, just all the way down to magma fall, going under the floor, and you have to choose left or right.
Could one of the specialists actually be a dragon?
I don't see why not. Like
Like a
maybe
young,
a little
like
dragon.
like a young dragon.
Yeah, young dragon trying to prove themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, could do a dragonborn. The only reason I would hesitate is because one of the client options is
dragon.
But that's gonna be like an ancient dragon.
Yeah, this is like a young dragon.
The young dragon.
Are young dragons trying to get work experience so they know what kind of lair they would like when they grow
Yeah.
up?
Then he'll be better at designing his own lair in the future.
See?
He won't have to outsource it.
Are dragons natural shape changers? Can they just like take on human form at will?
In the lore, yes. I don't recall if they all have polymorph as a spell in.
It feels like they don't, but I always retcon it as they do.
Because I feel like they should, or else how else are you going to get draconic lineage?
That's really what it comes down to.
Unless you want to be like Donkey from Shrek.
Nope.
No, I gotta play it.
It doesn't specify it in their stats, but the lore-wise is always that dragons can polymorph.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so it's
I would say they can.
Cool.
I was just trying to think of something that would be like resistant to fire.
All right, Chuck. I need a 3-story front foyer on your dungeon painter.
Okay.
A volcano motif. We'll start on the left and we'll work our way in.
I'm getting...
How are we going to depict the different stories? Are these like does Dungeon Painter have different stories or
They can, otherwise you can just text and write first floor,
All
second
right.
floor, third floor.
I gotcha.
All right. So the first week, are we gonna have it take time to hire a specialist, or do we start with 3 and then?
I think you should get a couple of them that you had like you had on retainer. You get to choose a couple that you had on retainer, but then if it turns out that like, oh man, I need another one, because say like, okay, I only have a week left and I want to build this last thing. And it takes 8 days. But if I spend 1 day to hire this guy in, he halves the time, which will turn into 4, and so then I could do the whole thing in 5 days.
All right.
So if we did it that kind of way.
I feel like you will always have an architect and a trap guy.
At default,
at the very least.
the default you would have to pick an architect, a trapper, and then like one auxiliary one or something like that. You'd always have 3.
Yeah, I mean 1 spellcaster, 1 architect, and 1
engineer.
You get the unholy trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the unholy trinity.
All right, so 3 free, 1 engineer, 1 architect. I misspelled that, and 1 spellcaster.
I almost feel like this could be a podcast. What we're doing like right now.
Yeah, it could be.
I would listen to something like this, like in the car while I'm driving.
Just us.
Honestly, anytime
games?
we're doing like creation stuff that isn't like that there's no looking at a battle map for, it absolutely could be a podcast.
Heck yeah. Speaking of podcasts, one of my favorite is A Problem Squared. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's fantastic.
I think I have not heard of it. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I'm a huge nerd though. So
I think our spellcaster for this one should be a warlock.
We need someone with demons to summon things that are immune to fire. A
warlock that can summon demons and elementals.
Yeah, like fire elementals and earth elementals. Are earth elements? No, they're not immune to fire. Magma elementals, maybe, if there is such a thing.
Well, let's look it up. I bet you someone's made one.
True.
Magma Elemental 5e. New monster, Magma Elemental.
Oh, sweet.
D&D Unleashed, a homebrew expansion for 5th edition. Let's see here. Huge elemental, challenge rating 13. Hey, that's it.
I mean, because the guy who owns a dungeon the final boss.
They wouldn't necessarily have to be, but they could be.
Could we have a magma elemental as like
the final enemy?
As like the final guy guarding.
I think the way I would look at it is the client's wanting you to build a place for them to just put their treasure.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like the thing that you have to beat to.
Yeah.
Get the treasure.
It's like a bank. We're the Swiss bank vaults for evil D&D creatures.
So we would need somebody who can bring a magma elemental. Guys, I know who you need. You gotta hire Talif.
I don't know that this would be normally summonable by anything, but
I mean, not mechanically, but it totally fits her lore.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can't summon a mimic, but a ranger kobold could
Could catch
absolutely spend some time to get a kobold or to get a mimic and bring it into the dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meteor Breath. The elemental spews tiny chunks of burning stone. Each creature in a
Okay.
10-foot radius sphere. DC 16 on a failed save, they take 3d6 bludgeoning plus 3d6 fire damage.
All right, so there's your foyer.
All right. That's a big foyer. Yeah, that's impressive. I like it. Good job. That's
10
gonna
by
be
10.
Oh. Oh, is each one of these okay, I thought each little square was 5 feet, but okay. So rather than being like a 50 or 5, 10, 15, 20. Yeah. It's not 50 by 50, it's just 10 by 10.
Yeah. Each square
That's-
is 1.
Each big square. Not like the little bitty grid.
Yeah. The little tiny grid is all 1 foot. The larger grid would be your 5-foot squares that you would have on your map.
Okay. Yeah, so when you come in the door and there's a big lava fall right on the back wall. Oh, it'll be beautiful. And then
We want it trap focused, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So
I don't know if the very first room needs to have a trap in it.
I think it absolutely should. It's a beholder.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? How about a lovely chandelier that you step in, you've got a limited amount of time before it just falls.
I was
For those
thinking that
indecisive adventurers.
I was thinking that the doors seal and the heat from the lava waterfall just slowly bakes out all of the oxygen.
That's the most evil thing I can imagine.
I mean, you've already got massive heat, right? So let's just use that to our advantage. Why build a lot of extra elaborate traps when you can just let the heat kill it?
That's right. We're on a budget here, time-wise, and is there like a
so
monetary budget for this game?
We weren't going to do money. It was all going to be time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
that's
it's
fine.
assumed that you're just going to steal any resources that you would have to pay money for, and or that you can just create the things you can summon things for yourself, you know.
All right,
So-
that's fine. Okay, I like that.
Pre-built.
But yeah, I was thinking like he wants it traps, but if most of the traps just involve
The
dumping
lava.
people into the lava, trapping them in rooms that are filling with lava, just the heat in general, then we only have to supplement a few extra things for stuff that is like fire resistant. You know.
Have you guys seen Love, Death, and Robots?
I have not,
I
but
have not.
I want to.
So there's this one where it's like so many different ways that Hitler dies. It's just a montage of like all the ways that he dies, and I'm like picturing this. I'm picturing something like that, but like so it's like when you're selling your traps and stuff and how the adventurers are gonna die to like the client. It's just a montage of Okay, so that arc thing is like the front room
Yep.
or the front door rather.
That's the front door.
Front
Yeah.
door.
Okay, and then those are the lava falls.
You had mentioned lava falls. Now we've got to figure out. Actually, I'm gonna remove these.
Well, I would say like this. So, we're building it in a volcano. So, getting the lava into a room only takes as much time as it takes to build a conduit for the lava.
Yeah.
So, that should only take like a day.
So I was thinking like
To introduce lava into a room should only take a day because of that.
I was thinking lava is on the back wall opposite of the door. So it's like you see a big lava fall. 3 stories tall. Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Huh, it got little.
And it just flows into a like a hole in the ground or something.
Yeah, it flows down into a crevice and then like the room is really warm. So they have to like figure out where they're going pretty quickly. And if they spend too long being indecisive, the front door closes and the side doors close.
Yeah. Should there be two? Should there be two side doors, or should there just be one?
Oh, so they can just like hurry up and go through?
No, maybe it should be two.
Exactly. We're trying to not be nice here.
Well, because I was also thinking, I mean, if you wanted to go real budget heavy on the front end, right? The door could be behind the lava, and they have to find the mechanism to split the lava flow.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
So there's only one door going forward. It's behind the lava fall.
Okay.
And there's some sort of mechanism that opens it up. And it's a mechanism that it's not one that you can stand on to activate, because it's a beholder's place, right? So it has to
Yeah.
be something that is either like you shoot it with like an eye beam, or that you can hover up to and press, you know? Because it could just be really high up in the air, because it can just hover up there and touch the button.
Yeah, I like that.
If it's 3 stories tall room,
I mean, if we're gonna be putting like a what is it, a CR13 monster at the end, then
yeah.
surely they'll have enough to be able to do that.
Okay.
Or leave
so
leave the dungeon.
Let me write down some things here before we get
Yeah.
too far ahead.
Yep.
That I've thought about while we're doing this. So
Absolutely.
10 by 10 room creation equals 1 day.
Yes.
Natural elements, lava flows, ice rivers, etc.
Seawater, yeah.
are free actions. That way we,
Yeah, because you could build when you're creating that room, you could have built it with that element implied into it when you took the time to dig out the room.
Yeah.
So it would be part of the cost of that room.
Yep.
But if say we were like the person wanted an Arctic theme, so we're going to be building it somewhere that's Arctic, and we decided we wanted lava into it, then it's going to take more time, because you have to either dig down deep enough to find lava, or you have to import your lava through like magic portals, and that's going to be difficult to do.
Okay,
Although that would be hilarious.
The other thing I thought is non-trap hallways are free. So you're not spending time connecting from one room to another. You can focus on your room.
Small connecting hallways are free, because it's assumed that you build a small connection with each room.
Yeah.
And but you do have to make it big enough that the client
Beholder
can get through.
can fit through, yes.
Ooh, I like that.
Because that's the one thing, is we have to, even though the client might not be living here, we
He's gotta
have
be able
to
to get
build
to
it
his
in
goal.
such a way that he can travel through it. So there also needs to be ways to get around certain of the monsters that the client might not have direct control over, right? We have to build a way for them to get around.
So like, he's got like, so like, imagine like it's the 3rd story. It's basically accessible if you can fly, because you're a beholder.
The thing since it's a beholder that can hover and fly, a lot of the stuff that we can make, if the monsters can't fly, then the beholder can just fly over them in like a big room, full of monsters or something. So that make as long as they don't have tons of ranged attacks. So but that's just something you have to keep in mind. That's not so much any sort of mechanical thing to that. That's just something.
I mean, honestly though, every dungeon should just be the water temple.
No.
They'll never get in.
I will say this then. This hallway would have to be bigger for the
it's got to be
10.
Through. Basically, it has to be the size of the foyer. The lava just kind of has to like channel onto the side walls so it can go through. Because, I mean, beholders are large
creatures.
Yeah. Which the hallway becomes the 10 by 10 room, but whatever. Is that still free?
Maybe we up the size of the rooms you can build in a day.
Yeah.
How about a 20 by 20 room you can build in a day?
Yeah, maybe a 20 by 20 room can be built in a day.
No, it was good where it was.
Well,
I see. You're making the. Yeah, I got you now.
I think that's scale. Yeah, that's scale. So.
Under construction.
I can't really see it very well, so I'm gonna let you guys. I'm just gonna be an idea guy. I'm gonna stand in the back of the conference room and just yell out buzzwords to make you guys do
Whoa.
better. Energy.
It's the paradigm, the zeitgeist.
Alright, so the entrance becomes there. And the hallway becomes there. Scale the fire.
That's what you have a 1 day of the budget no matter what. Every time you always have to lose 1 day of the budget. That is involved finding a person to stand in the room while decisions are being made and just do this. That's a requirement for all dungeon designing.
Yes, yes.
And then anytime someone laughs, he laughs along with. Wait, what's that one movie? Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh.
I'm just thinking Megamind.
Megamind's pretty good.
Oh, Megamind was like so. They did Megamind dirty, man. That was such a way better movie than I think it was what Minions that competed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, I didn't see Megamind until a lot later. But geez, it was like, if you think when it came out, man, that movie was ahead of its time. All right.
Here you go. I got. This is what I was thinking of.
Megaman. Oh, the Muppets. Okay.
The
okay.
Muppets, yeah. I couldn't remember that it was the Muppets. But yeah.
Yeah, look at this. This is looking good. I like it. Yeah, I'm the dwarf
There we go.
architect. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love what you've done. It's so good.
Okay, so now for this trap that you guys want to create, this like Legend of Zelda-esque hidden button that has to get pushed.
Mm.
We need. Is the kobold engineer gotta come up with it now?
Well, I think so. Simple mechanisms like that.
Or would that be the purview of the architect?
Well, it's also though it's got to move the lava out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's gonna definitely take some time. If you just want, if it's like just a door mechanism, that's just like a push button or a lever pull, regardless of where you hide the lever, I think you should have a number of those you could do per day.
Okay, just like a mechanism.
and like the mechanical, like the engine, like a kobold engineer can do like twice as many in a day.
Okay,
You know,
that makes sense.
because but this one would be more advanced because it has to split and divide and move the lava flow. So it has to be built in such a way that can withstand the heat and the force of the lava and move it away so that it can be safely traversed. So this one
yeah,
would
this is a
maybe have to
magical
take
world.
a day. Yeah, this one would maybe have to take a day though in order to build that.
Well, so that's where I was thinking the role playing could come into it and the dice rolling, because you could have. So this is a challenge rating or a difficulty cap at 12. So.
Oh god, you got the CR for each trap you want to make, and then you have to like.
Well, traps don't typically have CRs.
Not CR, but like the DC of building the trap, and you have to succeed if you want to do it.
And
like
so
there's like a crit success where you can do it in like half the time, and then there's the regular DC where you just do it, and then if you fail, it takes you twice as long.
Yep.
Or you could just, I mean, I have a D24. So it could just be rolling to see how many hours it takes.
I don't think most people are going to have a D24.
Oh, shush. It's a standard dice.
Well, I mean, a D4 and a D20 are. So.
Wait, what polyhedra? What kind of polyhedra is that?
Yeah, let's see this thing.
It's,
But it's got 24 sides?
It's got 24 sides. It's my precision cut gaming dice. So these are hand cut to 1/100th of an inch. So the only dice you can buy, well, you can't buy them. The only dice that are made that are more precisely cut than these are casino dice, which are cut to 1/1000th of an inch. But you can not buy them unless you are a casino entity. 15.
Okay, what about this? Take a D6 for the numbers of in a week, and then the for basic traps it's a 0. For elaborate traps it's a +1.
I mean, I do also have a D14 that has the days of the week on it.
What the hell?
All right, let's think general people here. You odd dice owning individual with your football
I have a D5. You want to see a D5?
No, I don't think I do.
It's got 2 big flat sides and then 3
I don't like
sides
it.
on the triangle.
So, as I was saying, your kobold engineer could -2 or minus,
It's a D3.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways.
I'm just trying to think of what would be.
We could do the day 6 because they take Sundays off.
Yeah. So D6, how much would like using the kobold benefit you in reducing it?
Well, this D6 is determining how many days it takes, or
Yeah.
this is determining. I think whenever you have the person that's skilled in the thing, they always have it.
Okay, so -3.
Well, no, it's not even a minus. It's halved. So if you roll a 1, they do it in half the day, meaning they could conceivably do another of the same thing. In this, so they could conceivably do 2 in the same day, if they rolled well enough.
Oh, so you want to roll low?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to roll low.
It's Thaco. Okay.
Oh, don't talk about no.
So I got a 3.
Chuck doesn't need to know about Thaco, all right? He never had to deal with that.
I haven't had to deal with. Well, I've been looking into rifts and some of that stuff. So I've heard about it. I've never dealt with it.
Yeah, well, Rifts doesn't use Thaco. That was old. That was AD&D.
Guys, I had a terrible idea.
Oh no.
Rifts.
I
What
like
if
terrible ideas.
What if in campaign 2 the different places you go to follow different D&D edition rules?
That would be hilarious.
That
We'd have to build versions of our characters for each one because they like innately change when they enter into it.
It's how exactly.
Oh, that would be so hard to do conversions for.
Oh god.
Because like old AD&D did not have the same types of classes.
I know.
To be like an assassin, you had to have the right stats at the beginning to be able to choose the assassin subclass, and then it was like broken as hell because it made the thief rogue base subclass like 1,000,000 times more powerful.
And on this world, it's Shadowrun.
No. And on this world, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Maybe
You're a turtle
not.
now.
Maybe not for my first DMing.
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit crazy. It would be a
Talking
fun
about hard
concept to
mode.
do,
It would be
God.
great.
but that
my
would be very
God.
hard to keep track of.
I want to make more characters in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by the way.
Okay,
I just love character creation for that.
we'll have to do it one of these days.
All right, so are we rolling to see how long our lava door separator takes now?
Yeah,
I rolled a 3.
Okay,
and halved is a day and a half,
so we have the Cobalt Engineer.
right? Or are we
Yeah.
not having?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, alright, I'll put in the chat. We picked the Kobold Engineer.
The Duragor Architect.
Or, I guess I would say, instead of saying engineer, because that's what kobolds specialize in, it would be, I'll say the Kobold Artificer.
So he gets some magic stuff too.
Yep, the
We would have to
Durgar-
we'll have to more fine tune what the classes and races can do
yeah.
later on. So
I feel like
we'll
this is just we're all very high level right now. We can get more into the
well yeah. We'll just this specific kobold has the engineering, and that's what matters right now.
yeah.
Mhm.
They're a physical trap engineer.
Yes.
They're not a magical trap engineer.
So we picked a Kobold, a Durgar, which I keep misspelling, I think, but that's okay.
Duerger.
Yep, I definitely was using A's in there.
Oh.
And what's our third?
Actually, it might be ARGAR. It might be JAR, not GER. But
See, that's what I did. I did
Yeah,
DUEA.
I think it's just DUEG.
I'm just gonna Google this shit.
DUERGAR.
There we go.
Sorry, I said an ER the first time, and I do apologize.
Urgar.
There we go.
Great.
Duergar.
A Grey Dwarf.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. What's our third specialist?
It's a
Warlock for
warlock. It's a
demons.
drow warlock. Of Lolth, probably.
So we're playing the easier one where we get to pick our specialists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we can pick other specialists too. If we just decide, we don't even have to like have a specific one right now. We can just say, oh, we need a specialist to be able to do this thing, and we can just add an extra day to how much time we've used.
I mean, we
So-
have 60 weeks apparently because you said 5 times 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a lot of time to.
We
be
have
able
over
to
a year to
build.
build this thing.
All right. So that might be a little much, depending on how we have things laid out. Like,
Well, because how high did you let the CR go to? Did you let it go all the way up to CR 20?
yeah.
And then maybe it's not times 5. Maybe it's a number of weeks equal to the challenge rating. Challenge rating 1 dungeon, you have 1 week to build it. You don't need a lot. 2 rooms and a bunch of skeletons. That's a challenge rating 1 dungeon.
Yeah,
right
that's
there,
true.
you know? So,
So 12 weeks to build this thing.
That
so
makes
12
more
weeks.
sense.
We
Yeah.
got 3 months to build a vault for a beholder.
And then you could maybe we could build in some sort of mechanic where you can get more time or
Mm.
You have to sweet talk the boss.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think there should be a benefit and a negative thing. I think we need to try and get rolls in here a little bit more.
yeah.
Because when you get a nat 20, a benefit happens, you know? You get extra time, you get free resources, you find a room.
Something like that, yeah.
But then, you know, a nat 1 would be cave in or
So
premature hero.
what we could do?
attack.
Why don't we do it like this? Everything has like its set time that it takes to build or to do.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you do it, you roll a d20, and there's a DC for it. You have to meet the DC to do it in the normal time. If you roll a nat 20, or maybe even if you beat the DC by a certain amount, you do it in half the time. And if you fail the DC, it takes twice as long.
I think I said that earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might have said something you might have said that same kind of thing earlier. So
But I was thinking, rather than the D6, you just do it basically like trying to pass any sort
yeah,
of
just make it a
DC
d20.
in Dungeons and Dragons.
So we don't even need to roll the d6 for how many days it'll take. It's just it's going to take 1 day, but you roll the d20 to see if they do it faster.
Or worse.
And then you could have your specialists give bonuses to that dice roll. As
Yeah,
opposed to just
that's the
passively
point of having a
changing the
specialist.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got like say something like, and the trap you want to build could be whatever DC, different DCs for different types of traps.
Yeah.
Say like my specialist gives me, I don't know, like +5 to
I was thinking like +5s. Yeah.
this kind of trap. It's a much better chance to succeed.
And then like if you don't have a specialist for the type of thing you're trying to do, you're at a general minus
Yeah.
to the roll.
feel like
Well,
if this thing
yeah,
was
I think you're already at a minus because you don't get a benefit, so it's just the dice roll. It's pure
That's
chance.
true. It could just be the flat dice roll.
so for example, like if this thing was like a DC 15, specialist could potentially just take a 10 and say, "We're doing it in a day."
Yeah, that we could definitely put the taking 10 mechanic in. That if you don't want to risk failing it,
And you know your specialist can
and
succeed.
you know your specialist can succeed, they can take a 10 and do it that way. Yeah, I like that. Because D&D doesn't use the taking. 5th edition doesn't really use the taking 10 mechanic.
I like the taking 10.
I do
It's
too.
there. It's just it's part of the optional rules that.
And it's not. Yeah,
get
well, it's
glossed
not
over.
widely used. It's not widely used.
Yeah.
Mutants and masterminds is
Can I-
built all around taking 10 and taking 20. You can take 20 on checks if you have time and like you're not under duress.
Yeah. It's
So.
roll for initiative. Can I take a 10 on that? Can I take a 10 on my initiative? With my +8?
I don't think you'd be able to on initiative checks.
Oh.
It'd probably only be for like ability checks.
Mm-hmm.
And it would still be situational because like if you're under a lot of duress, you can't take a 10 because you're doing everything so quick and so like instinctually.
Yeah.
But like if you have a moment to think about it, taking a 10 can be quite reasonable.
All right. So this trap, behind lava. I mean, how do we want to classify these, like, these things that we're doing? Because
so I mean, it's gonna if we wanted it to make it really really specific, it would take a long time and lots of like charts. But you can almost have it be like keywords.
Mm-hmm.
Each keyword has a certain amount of time. So like door. And then you add in the keyword of lever button activated door. So now it takes a little bit longer because you're building in the mechanism beyond just the door. And then it's like and then hidden lever activated door now adds a little bit of time. And then you put in and then you'd have to put in something for like elemental or even actually really technically you could just have it fall under the hidden button activated door.
Yeah.
And because the lava's already there.
This is basically activating a splitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could just have it like each one of those, each additional type of keyword, which is adding to the complexity of what you're creating.
All right. So door
time.
Yeah. So door DC would be 5 because you're just literally putting a door in. Actually, it wouldn't even have any. I would say
so same. It's like just creating a basic room, just creating a basic door. All of those things can be done without any roll.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you just go buy a door at Home Depot, and you screw the frame in. You know.
at Dungeon Depot.
Dungeon Depot.
Write that down because we're gonna put that in the book.
So for this one, right?
I'm not writing that down. So somebody write down Dungeon Depot. I'm very adamant about that. We're using that.
Give me a minute.
There we go. I put it in chat.
Love it.
So for this one,
instead of this one, oh, go ahead.
For this one, I'm thinking we've got this will be a lever, but it's elevated, and is it also hidden?
I think it's hidden. I think it's also hidden. Or do we want it to just be elevated? Just elevated is especially for the first room. Just elevated is enough to really slow people down already.
So this is an elevated lever, and so
So each of those adds whatever we want the plus to be. 5, yeah. So that makes it a DC 10.
It was a DC 10.
Yep.
I like that. I like the way we're building this. Cool. Yeah. And so then we don't even have to have like each specific individual thing listed. It's just like for each piece. It's just the number of pieces.
Yeah.
You can come up with whatever those pieces are, but the number of pieces, the keywords like that you can use, add 5 to the check. So, and in most cases, you're not going to need to add more. You're not going to need to make something more than like a 15.
Yeah.
But occasionally you might need to.
Or if you have a really good specialist, or maybe you've taken all 3 of you. ended up with all trap focused.
True, they could
things.
all add to the same roll because they're working together to design it. So yeah, so if all of them had that +5 to this type of door, you'd have a +15, which means, oh heck, you could make the complexity like a 25 and probably have pretty dang.
Yeah.
You could throw in an extra keyword into it. Yeah.
All right, so who wants to roll for our elevated button?
I mean, it's a 10, right?
It's a 10, and because we took the is this considered a trap or an engineering? Either way, we have it, but this would be a...
This would probably be engineering.
Engineering.
Yeah.
This isn't a trap. The
Yeah.
trap will be the door closing behind them.
All right, I'm going to say right now, a trap is something that causes damage.
Okay.
For our
Trap is
turns.
something that it's something that causes damage or slows down or intentionally slows down the hero beyond just them looking for the mechanism.
Can we also...
Because like a door that slams shut in your face could still be a trap. Oh, here we go. No, a trap is something that is triggered by the person unintentionally triggering it, whereas a mechanism is something that is triggered by you pulling a lever or whatever.
Yeah.
So a trap and a mechanism, that might be the exact same thing. One of them might be to open a secret door, but if it's a trap, if you hit a tripwire and that opens it because there's something hidden behind it that's going to attack you. And it's a mechanism if you go up and you push a button to open the door because it's just sealing the rooms from each other.
I'm imagining this one would be like a lever. I'm trying to think of like the actual players like doing it. Like they'd have to have like rope and they'd like lasso around it to pull it.
Yep, or someone with a climbing speed could climb up
Yeah.
there and do it. Yep. So...
But yeah, I like that.
All right,
And because it's not hidden, the DC to spot it would be pretty easy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but then
Whereas
you'd have
a
to figure out how to
hidden
get to
one,
it.
Yeah, it's just figuring out how to get to it. So, I'll roll.
All right.
I rolled a 5,
Oh no!
but we get a +5
We get a
from our
+5,
guy.
so we got a 10,
so
so
we succeeded it.
Yep.
Should we make a rule that only specialists get to take 10s?
Well, yeah, you can't take a 10 if you don't have a specialist that's capable of that.
Okay, good.
I 100% that makes sense.
Yeah.
Specialists like I could do this in my sleep. I'm taking a 10 on this
So
guy.
then we just need to put whatever the mechanism is that causes the door to close behind them. And then this room's done.
I think it would be on the wall opposite the door, or a wall opposite above the entrance, opposite the lava, like above the door.
So is it going to be like a magical sensor, or
No,
do you
it's
want it
like
to
a
be
lever.
something-
It's just a lever you pull, and it splits the lava.
Well, no, yeah, that. But I'm talking about like
Oh.
when they enter the room, the door is supposed to close behind them.
Oh, we're talking about the door
them
trap.
to trap them
I
in the
gotcha.
heat of the room. Yeah. So now they're trapped because when the doors open, there's enough. The heat's moving out. It's hot. But
I
the heat,
gotcha.
it has an exit point.
Yeah, it's
for the heat transference. So.
Yeah, I mean,
As soon as the
like,
door closes, the temperature in the room starts to increase because now it takes much longer for the heat to move through the door. than
Yeah,
it would.
I like that. Yeah, so now we build the trap.
So we have to figure out what mechanism causes the door to close, and this would be a trap. So we still have the bonus because we decided our kobold has traps and mechanisms is his thing. So, is it going to be like a thing they step on?
I would say either a room or a pressure plate.
It's something they have to step off of as they get far enough into the room.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Because then you're not expecting them to step. They don't have to step perfectly on it for it to trigger.
And you have enough, and that way, like their full party can get in because they'll all be standing on it, and then after like a few seconds of not standing on it, the door closes.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a pressure plate like under the door itself, essentially.
Just on the inside of the door. Yep. Pressure plate.
So then it's just mechanical again. And it's a trap, but it's only a one keyword trap, so that's probably only a 5, I would think, right?
Yeah, probably.
Unless we want it to have some other sort of added effect. This is not this room is not. This is the first room.
Yeah,
it's not complex, but if the people are bad enough at figuring things out, it could still be very deadly.
Yeah, the lever is going to be above the entryway.
Yeah, it's going to be
They
above
have
the
to turn
entranceway,
around
way
to
up
see
high
it.
on the wall. So yeah, so they won't spot it right away. So yeah, I think we can probably just have our kobold take 10 to do that trap, right? And are we saying this kind of trap would normally take a day, or are we saying it would normally take like a chunk of a day?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think to keep it simple, everything
Just
should
base
really
everything.
be a day.
Everything's
Yeah,
a day.
that makes
Okay.
sense.
Because
Yeah, that's
otherwise
fine.
you end up in the
Trying to divide the hours and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to deal with that.
Okay. So if he takes a 10, because we're just gonna say this DC is only a 5 because it's just a one-step mechanism, right? Or we know it is a door though, so it'd still be a DC 10 because it's a door with a pressure plate.
Our doors, I thought doors were free.
Oh no, doors are free. So yeah, so it's just a pressure plate. So yeah, so it'd just be a DC 5. If he takes a 10, he beats it by 5. Does that do a bonus, or do you have to beat it by more than that, or does it have to be a nat 20 to get the bonus?
I think just to get the bonus, you got to be critically successful.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you just have to. So beating the DC or failing the DC just causes you to do it in time or take twice as long.
Yeah. A day or 2 days for everything.
In that case, we could pretty much have almost everything that you do pretty much always takes a day.
Yeah.
And then just occasionally certain more complex things could be longer. Like maybe some of the creature wrangling could take more days because you have to go venture out and find one.
Well, and
but
that makes sense to me that you're spending a day to design a trap. That's that's reasonable. But to go to summon a creature 2 days, to wrangle a creature 2 days, like
yeah.
Because it's more than something they can just jump over or avoid. It's something that they have to actually deal with.
Yeah.
So also, they can do it in parallel, right? Like while this guy's building the trap, this guy's going to get the creature. Or is it all just sequential for simplicity's sake?
You could do that, but I feel like for simplicity's sake, it should just all be sequential. You're bringing them in one at a time to do their different pieces of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because otherwise, you could spend tons of time figuring out how they're layering it up and have them build this 12-week dungeon in like 2 weeks.
True.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. All right, I like that. For the
considering we're going to give
simplicity.
a good chunk of time with stuff costing only a couple of days to do. Because there's no maximum rooms or things like that we have to do. There's just how many stories they want, so that they want some verticality to it or not, and then
technically
rating.
With this this foyer, because it was this room took a day, right?
Yeah.
I would think for each story though, this room took 3 days to build. Because it's a 3-story tall room.
It's per story. That would make sense. It takes 1 day to do a
20 by 20 1-story room.
Yep.
That sounds pretty fair, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, we've fulfilled the
per story.
We've technically fulfilled the 3-story requirement.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a little.
Don't have to build any more 3-story rooms if we don't want to, but we would probably want to do a little bit.
All right, and now there's a magma elemental behind it.
and then we're done. Hey, we came in under time and under budget. You wanted traps? There's a trap. and it's a challenge rating 13 magma elemental, which balanced by the easiness of the trap is about CR 12. There you go.
I mean, stupid. Kind of, right?
I think we would want a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny.
I mean, again, this is not something that you're going to do to try and like compete with your players, or this is a group fun thing. So if you wanted to do that, go for it. You're only affecting yourself in that.
True.
It's not like you can hurt each other by.
I'm gonna roll for the trap to see if he builds it faster.
Okay.
I got 17, so no.
No.
So what would happen, since we're doing it by days, we're not if you roll a critical success, does that mean they get it for free?
I think there should be a benefit table and a consequence table.
Ooh, I like that. Wait,
Okay.
so it does it take it twice as
So
long and there's a
so no with the consequence table, yeah, it should be things like takes one extra day, or the day is wasted and trap isn't completed. And then you still have to roll again, which you could fail again,
Yeah.
kind
Oh.
of thing.
And
Whereas the other one would be, it wouldn't affect that trap specifically, but like the benefit could be like minus 1 day for the entire project. Somewhere along the way, you sped something up.
yeah.
So it just overall reduces you by a day.
If you
So
critically
it gives you an extra day.
A critical success allows you to auto succeed your next trap.
Yeah, that could be one of the benefits. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it can be crazy. Like I said, you discover an extra room. You uncover a hidden room. Now you have
get
a
free room that doesn't take a day. Yeah.
I like that.
So we'll just have to create what that chart is. And that's
So
just
we could
something we can work on.
and we could type up a whole module of this.
Yeah, this could be like a whole I mean, it wouldn't have to be long because most of it's not overly complex, and it's using stuff that had come out of other books like monsters and things like that. 5 to 10 page little module just explaining how you do these roles, and then maybe a few pages because of the profiles of the of the
your
guys.
specialists.
Yeah.
The LinkedIn page, some of the things you can buy at Dungeon Depot.
Hold on,
Yeah.
not LinkedIn, LinkedIn, because it's
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Dungeon Depot. So the Home Depot slogan is "How doers get more done," and I'm trying to figure out how you could say that.
How Durgar get more done?
That's not bad. How
I was saying
how evildoers get more deaths.
Oh wait, are we calling this Dungeon Depot now and not Dungeon Tycoon?
No.
Well, no. Dungeon
Dungeon
Tycoon is the module. Dungeon Depot is the place where you buy all your supplies.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Hey guys, and then at the beginning of our of everything, we could this episode was sponsored by Dungeon Tycoon.
We could actually.
I mean,
if we created it as a thing we're selling.
Imagine we had a Kickstarter for this thing.
Here's the thing. Well, here's what I'm gonna say. If we flesh this out and we get this done, we'll throw it up on
Patreon.
Well, Patreon the patrons will get it for free, but then the what's the drive-through RPG? We can post it on there.
Oh yeah.
Have it as a pay as you want, pay what you want
module thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I like it. Anyways, okay, so we've got our first room done.
Because everything we're doing falls within the OGL rules. So
OGL?
Mm-hmm.
What's OGL?
It's so you can basically do anything you want with D&D if you follow their OGL stuff.
Oh.
And it's basically using the basic rules that they released for free. And
not using anything that's introduced specifically in the supplements and stuff, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's why I was listening to some guys and they designed a module that they sell, but they couldn't use some of the specific classes that were in the later releases that they wanted to use, and they couldn't even mention them in the text.
Yeah.
So they had to design a lot of stuff and new monsters that were added in. Like they couldn't reference Strahd, for example, because he's specific to the Ravenloft module and things like that.
Okay, I have a question. Are dragonflies a monster in Dungeons and Dragons? And I'm not talking about the insect. I'm talking about tiny dragons that just breathe fire at you.
There are pseudo dragons, which are little.
As if not, there totally should be, and we need those.
And yeah, that's one other thing. Anything we homebrew, we're perfectly capable of using.
All right.
Pseudo Dragon is a tiny dragon that is neutral good, but that doesn't necessarily matter. It
Wall
has a bite and
flesh.
it has a bite and a sting, so it's more like a wyvern than a dragon. It doesn't have a fire breathing, but you could use some of its stats and just modify them slightly.
Yeah, I would make it fire breathing. Like it's
Yeah, just
weird.
give
I
it a
just want
small fire. Take away its sting and give it a small fire breath attack.
exactly. It's a dragonfly. Like it's just a tiny drag, and there's like swarm. They come in like a couple deep swarms.
2-minute
Yeah,
tabletop. I love your
that's one of the
stuff.
cool things about warlocks is their familiar can be a pseudo dragon if they have the Pact of the Chain.
Eh,
Okay, so what's the next room gonna be?
Well, first of all, let's check how much time this has taken, so we know.
It's been 5 days, I think, right? It took 3 for the room and 2 for the traps.
We succeeded both roles for mechanisms, so yeah, I think it's been 5 days.
Do you have
Okay.
do you have to roll a die to
'Cause we
build
have-
the room, or it just takes as long as it takes?
It just, the basic room just takes that long.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
A
no,
basic
we're-
room and basic door just takes the day. I guess maybe we could have. There could be one of the architect characters that they get to roll for it to see if they get a boon, or a failure. You risk
Okay.
the failure, so you could roll for it to try and get the nat 20, but you risk rolling the nat 1.
Mhm.
So in most cases, you wouldn't want to do the roll because why?
So you
Because
could have
there's
one
no
architect whose nickname is "Old Reliable." Like he can't go any faster, but he'll never be slower.
Yeah, we could definitely
All
give them
right.
some different specifics like that.
All right. So for the next room, guys, here's what I'm thinking,
Okay.
and I'm making this up as I go because I'm thinking about it right now. I'm thinking some sort of pit with a bridge over it, and just
Well, so we remember we do need to keep ourselves confined to our 3 stories. And so since this room's already going up 3 stories, we need to go up first, and then we can do a pit next, because then that pit can be below.
The staircase leading up to the second floor.
I would say that pits count as in the room.
I mean, not a huge pit, just like a river, like a river of lava, not a pit.
Well, but remember also though, it is a beholder. So if we can use lots of extra verticality, that makes it difficult for adventurers that cannot fly and climb. Whereas the beholder just goes right through. So if the next room is some sort of thing that's just about climbing and danger to climbing, and then the next room across that is a thing across a river of lava.
All right, so in this one, guys, I'm thinking like a Zelda vine wall that you gotta climb up.
So it's going to be a 3-story tall room that's about climbing up.
No, it'll be 2 stories. You climb up to the second story.
Is that all we're going to do? We're not going to use the maximum?
I mean, we could.
I feel like you might as well use the maximum height you can to make it more dangerous.
All right. I was thinking just to get to the room. Okay. Yeah. You could.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten past this waterfall of lava, and so now they're in here, and they have to climb up. So the beholder just gets to float up to wherever the door is at the very top, right?
Yeah.
So is there something designed specifically for the adventurers to climb, or is there just nothing that's easily climbable, and then we have some other sort of thing to put in there to inconvenience them? Or do we tempt them with something that they can climb?
We tempt them with something they climb, but there's going to be spiders in it.
Okay. So one thing I was thinking was, because we've got these lava flows, right, in the first room, and then there's the hallway, but they could be flowing behind the wall on either side of that hallway, right? And they could flow into this room. Beholder just floats right up, but the thing that they have to climb is a very small thing on a very small platform, and the rest of the room is lava.
They're playing the floor as lava.
They're playing the floor as lava, yeah. So then if they fall, there's a very good chance they fall in the lava, and then you put the spiders in whatever this climbing thing is, so that there's a very high chance they're going to lose their grip and fall into the lava.
Okay.
That's just a thought. That's not something we have to do. But I thought, since we already have these lava flows, and we've established that we can introduce lava into a room for free because it's part of the area we're constructing. We might as well use the lava because the lava can be the trap that the beholder wants traps.
So the middle of the floor is just all lava, right? Like the center 4 squares. Is that what we're
Yeah,
thinking?
sure. Yeah, if you wanted to go around there, I was thinking more like there's a tiny little um 5-foot square kind of thing in the middle where they
Oh,
climb, or against the back wall, whatever that they climb, and the rest of it's lava, and there's just a small little thing.
because I got to
Because the
think about
beholder's
where the
floating, so
we also have to think about where like actual creatures are going to go stand
yes.
to
So if you do want the lava in the middle, and then they like climb up the sidewall somewhere,
yeah.
that would work.
And I'm thinking they climb up the sidewall and there's a like a key that they have to get.
We're going very Zelda dungeony with this.
I don't know. That's all I know, okay?
No, it's fine. I like Zelda dungeons.
Yeah.
The one problem when designing something to be a Zelda dungeon is that players aren't limited to I have to run and jump across these platforms like Link can, because they have a lot more. They can teleport and stuff, you know. Like challenge rating
True.
12, they probably have Dimension Door, which means this
Well,
30-foot verticality actually isn't that inconvenient for them.
no, but they also have to burn a
They
dimension
have to
door
burn spell
spell.
slots and things to do that, yeah.
And who knows what's
So
waiting for them at
that's
the
why
end of
we
the
do
dungeon.
want some other things other than just the height, but that we can use that to maybe help them burn through some of their utility spells and things.
How
So
about okay? How about
so
there are holes in the wall that if you don't know what they are, you won't know to disable the spikes that pop out of them as you're climbing.
so it's like the wipeout zone, the punching fists wall.
Yeah, so basically what it'll do, it's not spikes that pop out. It's like it's like a fist that punches you off the wall if you don't make whatever deck
Well, I
save
mean,
and
it
you
could
get knocked
totally
into
be
the lava.
spikes. It could
Or
totally
you
be spikes because the spikes will damage you and then you'll still get pushed off the wall.
exactly. And then you get pushed into the lava because it's the only place you can go.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do
Hmm.
that. My other thought was I kind of liked your spider idea. I was going to see if there's some sort of like fire spider.
You're looking for a fire spider.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I finally found lava. You know, it's only taken me this entire time. I just said tooken, so I'm gonna just
Fucking
leave now.
You know what?
blazing spider.
Let me grab my actual monster manual. Hello, cat.
Is that what you're thinking for lava?
So, the middle 4 squares. But
Oh,
yes.
like okay,
the four big squares.
right here.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're just all lava.
Because they essentially only have 5 feet around the edge, so
Yeah, they
it's
have a
only
ring
it's
around
only
the edge they can
it's only
walk
room
on.
that for one person to stand. It looks bigger because we have those smaller subdivisions, but
Yes, I like it. Yes. Gorgeous. Love it.
I don't like it.
This is so good, guys.
We can do better.
oh hey, look, the stat block for my Lord of Water gargantuan aboleth. That's fun.
My name's Bobby Burke. I'll be your dwarf.
Well, they fought this giant aboleth I made, and they used control water to make a chasm in the water that it was swimming in, so it fell to the bottom. And
Oh.
they'd already dealt a bunch of damage to it, so it just took all that fall damage and died. Because you guys were like what, level 17? So she was able to make a essentially a hole in the water to fall that was like 100 feet deep or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting that D&D is like can be super creative in the use of its things.
Oh yeah.
But that's the fun part.
That's the thing is I saw this thing the other day that said to a DM, it said, "Don't worry if you can't always make crazy powerful encounters because your players will always be better at combat than you are. because they're playing the same character every time they play.
Mhm.
They know all the things that character can do and all the ways they can make the world shift to their design. Whereas you're playing with a new set of creatures every single time, and sometimes they're not always the smartest creatures. And like depending on how, and if your characters get new things or they're more unpredictable and they don't just do the same thing every time, it's a lot harder to build something that'll circumvent that.
That's true.
That
Like-
Mercer actually said something really cool the other during one of their like it was during one of the watch parties for Critical Role for Vox Machina. He doesn't come up with solutions to traps and puzzles. He comes up with the puzzle
and then lets them figure out whatever their solution
lets them figure out their solution.
So
Which
he
I
could have
thought
a
was
puzzle that
just-
doesn't. He could have a puzzle that doesn't have a solution, and it'll just be whatever they.
I have
Yeah.
done that a couple of times. I've done things that didn't have solutions, and I just waited until they did something interesting enough.
Yep, good enough.
Whoops. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that for you guys, because you always come up with better stuff than what I was planning, so.
Same. Whenever I'm running something.
I figure that's a lot easier than hitting your head against the wall trying to come up with how my brain works.
The only thing I don't like about puzzles is that it requires the player to get it and not the character.
Mm-hmm.
If they, I will let players roll intelligence checks to get clues and hints.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Yeah. Because then if you're playing a really smart intelligence character, they might be able to figure out or think in a way that you as a player couldn't, you know.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
That's
it's
the
kind
thing
of.
is and that's also the thing, that one of the reasons that we're always okay with like recounting information that we have forgotten, because it's been a shorter period of time for our characters. They would
Mhm.
remember, you know.
Yeah, it's like the statue thing with the river with like the River
Yeah.
King. It's
Yeah.
like for them it's literally been 20 minutes. For us it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's why I see a lot of people are like, well, you didn't write it down. You should have written it down. It's like, but the player or the character's not sitting there with a journal. I mean, other than
A wizard.
or my guy Morian.
Yeah.
But Morian is better at taking notes than I am. I suck at note taking. So why should I get punished, and why should it be less fun for me because I don't like taking notes and it causes me to not pay attention to what's happening versus just, hey, what does my character remember about that?
It's like, as a DM, what do I even remember about that?
Oh God, you guys have all said things that are like, oh yeah, this is what that is. And I'm like, I don't remember saying that.
But you did.
From Panda the other day when he's like, well, remember that this city is on the edge of a cliff. I'm like, I don't remember putting it on a cliff. I don't have it's on the edge of a cliff at any point.
You may have casually said it.
And then he references and reads the thing word for word that you gave him.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Apparently that's on the edge of a cliff. Let me just retcon my description from now to fit with what he has, because it's you always want
hey, look,
a player like Panda with note taking, but as an unorganized DM, it
Have you guys
I was taking really good
my
notes, and then I lost track of my.
Like, what's funny is like when it comes to like like if we have a session that's like only like a fight, like all right, 38, perfect example. We enter the prime material plane. The moons are red. We get in a fight near enemy HQ. We book it towards Andusk. We were probably in Haddonfield. This sky is dark crimson and the moons are blood red. And that's it. Which
That's everything that happened.
Exactly.
We didn't really gain any specific information during that.
But Then I've got stuff like, all right, episode 32. The Feywild is super colorful. Grass is blue, purple, and orange. I don't know why I'm writing down colors because don't need to. Blue-green sky with a red aurora. We meet a group of Eladrin. They tell us northeast to the Queen of Witches, northwest, Bear King, south, Lord of the Hunt, river system, River King, giant chasm, lots of baddies, realm of the Queen of Night and Magic. We can cast the next level appropriate spell without a spell slot. We get a free Bowie. We arrive at a base of a mountain range. It goes. It's like it's chronicling what we've done. I mean, there was an old inside a hut. We meet a person. We go into the hut, and there's an old lady hunched over a table. Her name is Cleo. She asks for a memory.
And the fun part for me on that is I know for a fact if I went and opened up the notes for that session, there's nothing stating that Hag's name is Cleo. I have not saved that at all.
That's amazing.
How about episode 30? A searing pain, a dagger in the stomach wakes Talib. The Sanguine Saints say hello. A fight ensues. The Fox Girl escapes. Barely. That's it. That's all that happened.
That's what happened. Look, Chuck. It's your best friend.
Who?
Black Pudding!
Hey! A little lower. Let me see the picture.
It
It went away.
Nope, there it is.
Hey!
Other one, it was a small one that you were dealing with. If it would have been a full-size one, it would have killed you.
Yeah.
Well, it also wouldn't have probably fit in the bottle.
Yes, it would not have fit in the bottle. I love that I gave you a grenade, and when you said, what's a black pudding, and I let you roll an intelligence check, and I said, oh, you know that it's a type of ooze, like a gelatinous cube or an ochre jelly. And you said, okay. And then about 5 seconds later, you said, okay, so I opened the bottle. I was like, man, did I not tell? Because afterwards I was like, did I not give him the opportunity to see if his character knew what it was? And then I listened to it back, and it was like, no, I couldn't hear you obviously because the audio issue, but I hear me responding to you rolling an intelligence check and saying exactly what a black pudding is.
I thought that you were telling Chuck as a player.
Oh, no, I was.
I'm pretty sure I was either talking over you or I don't remember you being that clear about it.
You had rolled the intelligence check, but I'm assuming either because of something else someone else said that distracted you, or because you were focused on something else when I was saying it.
Or just my general ADHD.
Yeah, or your general ADHD, it just didn't click. But it's still funny because afterwards you were like, you didn't. I didn't know what it was, and then I was like, I'm like, maybe I didn't tell you. But then I listened back, and I'm like, no, I told him.
You knew exactly what it was.
With my audio not recording, that's really funny.
It is.
There's a reason I've left that session up even without my audio, because
some funny stuff happened.
It's funny.
Yeah, it was a good session, and I really wish that there wouldn't have been that glitch because that was would have been a good one to listen to.
And I know exactly what it was. Is that when I switched over to that, because that different overlay, my Stream Deck did not properly unmute my audio.
Yep.
Well, that's why we're doing mic checks now.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So
in this room.
So is there going to be? Can they climb up any of the sides, or is there going to be a specific spot they can climb at?
I'm thinking that they can climb up any of the sides, and then there is it kind of goes into like a raised balcony type thing.
Okay.
I have no idea how I'm supposed to draw that.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Just maybe like in a different color so we know it's raised. It's like a little.
Or just don't bother about drawing it up in here that much. Because we could just. You could just wherever the door is.
Yeah, we could color code the floors.
You could do it that way too.
to be different stories. So like this dark gray layer is level 1, and I don't know. You could pick something else for level 2.
This is why I think maybe. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There's just a little lip.
and you have to like kind of catwalk around it.
Yeah.
But it'll be to the outside, not.
Yeah, the room itself would at the very top would extend outwards just a smidgen wider, and then there would just be the doorway on
So you
whichever
have to
side you
like,
want to advance through.
and so it'd be harder to see because it's raised up.
Yep. So you wouldn't necessarily see the doorway right away until you started climbing. So spikes are going to come out of the walls.
Unless you disable the trap.
Unless you disable the trap. So we'll have to figure out. So there will be a hidden trap disabler thing somewhere. Trap switch somewhere. But also, I kind of liked your spider idea. Unless you wanted to save that. Unless you wanted to save that for somewhere else.
Yeah, we could do spiders in
but
another.
there are straight up swarm. There's straight up the swarm of insects, and it gives you the way to turn them into spiders instead of anything else in the monster manual, which I think falls under that OGL stuff because it's just the first edition or first issue monster manual, right?
Well,
those three core books.
We don't have to worry about OGL.
That's true.
We're not putting the specific traps in the.
We're just making the rules.
We're just making the rule set. The players could pull any creature out of here when they're using it. That wouldn't be listed in our module. So yeah. So anyways, there's swarms of spiders. They can occupy another creature's space. They can move through any opening large enough for a tiny insect. So there could just be the little holes in the walls.
Okay, so how about I kind of like the pit in the middle with the things that shove you into it.
Okay. That's fine, and we can use the spider somewhere else maybe, or in another dungeon if we do this again.
Actually no, maybe the spiders could work because then you'd have to make a dex save to not fall in the lava if you lose your footing from the spiders. Like I'm also trying to think of this if someone had to play through this dungeon.
My other thought was we could put 2 salamanders in the lava pool.
Ooh, I like that.
And they don't surface until the players start climbing. They're observing, so someone could maybe spot them moving in the lava if they looked real closely because they're kind of watching. But they wait until the players are climbing. They default salamanders have spears. So they just pop up out of the lava with metal spheres that are glowing red hot and start throwing them at the players up on that are climbing up the walls.
Oh, I like it. That's pretty evil. That's
and then
good.
if you also have the things that can push the players off, now they get pushed into the lava, and of course due to D&D rules they just start taking fire damage every turn. They don't instantly die, but now they're in the lava taking fire damage and fighting the salamanders in the lava, and the salamanders can start using their tail attacks and stuff like that.
And we're going to assume that the players can retreat back the hallway through into the open door because the lava's still going to be split.
Yes, that would stay open probably until the switch got done again. Unless we would have to add more complexity to it to have it close behind them after a certain amount of time.
No,
which then that roll would have failed. So I think it just stays open.
So those salamanders should be taking up the entire block, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because this is because the whole big thing's a 5 foot.
All right. I think this has been a good sample of what our rule set can do. I don't know if are we going to build the entire. I don't think we have time to build the entire.
We don't have to build an entire dungeon tonight. This is just us kind of starting to get ideas for how we're going to make this work with the rolls and stuff. So that would take a roll to acquire the salamanders. Now they're intelligent creatures, so this would be a matter of either summoning them or convincing them to come join the thing.
So we need.
There should maybe be a character that can also just like persuade, for you to get goblins and hobgoblins and orcs and stuff into the dungeon, right? Like sentient creatures.
All right, so
I don't think we have one that has that.
How many? It was just 2 salamanders, right?
I was just saying 2, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we would have to spend a day to hire the specialist, and then he's got to go get the salamanders. He or she.
Yeah.
Or they.
So, so we'll spend a day to hire the specialist just because we're gonna do that, and
And then once you hire a specialist, you keep them for the duration of the
they
dungeon,
stay
right?
on retainer for the remainder of the dungeon, I think. If you're willing to spend a bunch of days early on, you can get people that have every specialty. Maybe there could be an maybe there could be a rule. One of the critical success things could be at any point later in the dungeon design, you can bring in any specialist for a single thing without
Oh,
spending
I
a day to
like that.
recruit them.
That's a good
It's because
benefit.
you're
I like
just so you're
that.
bringing instead of keeping them because the day it means you're keeping them on retainer. If you get that boon, you bring them in just real quick to do one quick job. So the job would still take however long it would normally take, but you get their specialty bonus for it.
That perk can be called Fiends with Benefits.
I like it. All right, so we've spent the day to get a specialist, a recruitment specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a +5. Does the number of beings you recruit increase the difficulty check, or
I would say sure. Yeah, it doesn't go up by 5, but it should go up by like
by 1 for there's a default 1. It's a default 5 to recruit anything, and then it goes up by 1 for every additional creature, or do we want it, or 2
so it goes
maybe?
up by 1, and then if you want another, it'll go up by 2, and then if you want another, it'll go up by 3 more.
So it exponentially, or not quite exponentially, but linearly increases.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So this one would only be a DC 6. Unless we want to say that recruitment is inherently a higher DC because you have to convince and or pay.
Recruiting should start at 10, so this would be an 11.
10. So this would be an 11. And he gets a +5 because we brought him in specifically for this. So +5, I'm going to roll it.
All right, so
that's a 16.
All right.
So 11 + 5. So I rolled it an 11 exactly. So so that succeeds. He gets those guys in there for a day. Takes him a day. So a day to hire him and a day for him to go. Or no. Recruitment takes 2 days, just like capturing creatures.
Yeah.
Right? So a day
to
to
go
hire
out and
him,
recruit them.
and then 2 more days for him to go and recruit them and bring them back. So 3 more days, and we've got the salamanders, and the room design, the room layout. Oh wait, no, it's a 3-story room again though. So that took 3 days. So it took 6 days to build this room to where it's at currently.
That's all right, we've got
we've got a lot of time. We're still less than 2 weeks in, and we have 12. So, and these 2 rooms already are posing a moderate challenge. Although the salamanders are only CR5, so they wouldn't cause too much trouble to hire enemies that are doing this. But the combination of them throwing spears at you while you're climbing. Because like if there's a wizard climbing up that decided not to teleport or whatever, he can't turn around and cast a spell without making a check to not fall off.
Exactly.
So, and so I do think we still need the spikes on the walls as well.
Ooh.
I think we need to make this route because we got to think these are probably going to be at least level 10 or higher adventurers coming through here, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, then we could have, and then it'll be
because then that'll do some piercing damage, so it's not entirely reliant on the fire in case you have like a red dragon, sorcerer that's resistant to it or something.
So the off switch for that is there a hidden switch in the hallway? Turn off the spikes.
What if now this would be even more complexity, but what if the switch is in the lava? It's an arcane sensor, so it senses if the salamanders are still alive. So if you kill the salamanders, you deactivate the trap. That's maybe a little bit too much,
Mhm.
but it's just a thought that I had.
Oh god, and their salamanders don't know that.
The salamanders don't know that. Yeah. Of course not. Why would we tell them that?
But they wouldn't
I
show
mean,
up for
a
that.
magical trap that disables itself when it's tied to the creatures. It's actually pretty funny, and the fact that the salamanders can never leave
Yeah.
because it's tied to their life.
Mm-hmm. So it's just if you get in there and you detect the salamanders and you kill them first before you start climbing, the little battle against some relatively low CR rating enemies, then you climb up and you never even the spikes don't even happen. You just notice there's some holes, but you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. But if you just start climbing, then spikes start popping out and you have to start making dex saves and stuff, and the salamanders start hurling spears at you.
So this is gonna be a hidden. It's gonna be hidden arcane.
Hidden arcane trap. I think it should have one more level of complexity because it's like life detection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant about like the arcane thing.
Yeah,
So,
but
so you're thinking at least 15 for that, or
I think at least a 15. We do have the Warlock. We already established that we have the Warlock who gets arcane stuff, right? We're gonna give him arcane.
Yeah.
That would make sense. So we'd have a +5. Should I roll that one?
All right. So this is so it's a 15.
Unless we think it's a little bit more complex and needs to be a 20.
We never really decided if traps would have an automatic DC. We had talked about doors, but not traps.
Oh, well, we had the door trap, but the door was free, and then it was the pressure plate for the mechanism, which made it only 5.
So this would be it would be a 5 for the spike walls. That's the trap already. That's going to cost 5.
Yeah, so traps themselves are a base 5.
They're a base 5. They're a little bit more than a door. Yep.
And then this, because it's
turn
also
a door into a trap.
Using the language that we've used before, mechanisms are a DC 0, traps a DC 5,
or DC 5.
Recruitment DC 10.
Yes, I like that so far. Yep.
Wait, mechanisms are okay. So, but each additional thing you pile onto the mechanism.
Yeah.
Yes. So like the
this
door
one
itself was always free, but as soon as you make that door have a mechanism to open, it becomes a 5.
So this is like, so because we made like, I think, what is it, 10 for the elevated lever previously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
This would be a 15 then, because it's one extra level of complexity.
Because it's an arcane hidden trap.
Because it's adding in arcane. Yep.
Yep. 15.
And yeah. Unless we're gonna say that that it's one more because of the mechanism for the trap.
No, I think the fact that I think that is arcane. The life detect of it is arcane.
So it's a 15, and our Warlock person gives us a +5. So does someone else want to roll it, or you want me to just keep rolling?
I'll roll it. What are we rolling, a 20?
Yep.
Yeah, D20.
All right.
Come on, Bowie.
No, we don't have a full list of boons yet.
I rolled a 2.
Oh no! So that's a failure. It's not a crit fail though, so it just takes twice as long.
Yeah.
So it just takes 2 days.
Yep.
So that's the good thing is if you fail, it just takes longer, which isn't a big deal until you're getting near the end of the dungeon and you're trying to like get something else squeezed in.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, you have to persuade the boss monster not to kill you.
Yes.
Bonus game.
So you better hope you hired the smooth talker.
Well, no, you just leave.
Yeah, no.
And you put the keys under the mat for the
for
the client.
And then you leave.
You put the keys under the mat with a hastily scribbled diagram of what all of the traps are that can very easily be misunderstood. And you hope that they figure it out, but you don't really care because you did your job.
You already got paid. You don't care. Is there like some sort of like magical sigil symbol in here?
Yeah.
To represent the arcane? Is that what you're? That's what you're looking for, probably.
I'm looking for spikes.
Oh, that too. Hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily need to put something there. Like if I was just like drawing this up, I would just have like a little arrow and I would put like spike walls, dexterity save DC X to keep climbing unless they've been deactivated, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I,
but if
I
you
just
want to put something up.
I was just thinking like the little sigil for
Yeah,
the
something to
arcane
show that that's in
mechanism.
there, yeah. Yeah, this is one that actually, the way we're designing the system, it would benefit greatly from the old school kind of graph paper design technique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To where you could really sketch everything out and
Well, that's basically what Dungeon Painter Studio is. It's just
yeah, it's
arty.
because you have to switch through all of your stuff and you can kind of draw it out. Something real basic you can draw out a lot faster
Yeah.
than you can build it in this. But then you can use this to build it for people to interact with. Because your notes have all the hidden stuff, then you just have to draw the design for them on a thing, in here. So
I mean, if I wanted to really be slow at this, I'd be using Unity like I do with my actual maps that I make.
Yeah.
But
So that's the way I would do it would be I would kind of hand sketch everything and then I would create it in Unity or another program like that. You have your sketch that has all of your notes on it for what the traps are, and then the one that they can interact with only has what can be seen. So, yeah, exactly. Yep. You're just doing this so that we have something visible for people to look at. Is why you're doing it this way right now. But like if people were actually using the system once we design it,
they can do it however they want.
They can do it however is easier.
They can do Incarnate. They can do Yield Mapmaker, which I haven't opened up in a while. I'm gonna open up Yield Mapmaker.
Ye oldie Mapmaker.
Yep. Nope.
Well, I like.
Old. They don't have an, or do they have an E at the end of it?
I like what we're coming up with here, guys. We've actually already pretty much got a fairly good mechanical thing put together. We just need to keep doing it a little bit more so that we can figure out any quirks or additional things we want to put in. But just our basic check system, I think we've got pretty well figured out already.
Yeah.
By simplifying everything to a day, to like number of days, helps a lot. Yeah.
I feel like so we've got a lot of the mechanics. I think if we do the next session, we could come up with our specialist characters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that we know exactly what the benefits they're going to bring to the table are, it's just we don't have to we know that they just provide a +5 bonus. So we just need to put what they provide that +5 bonus to. This needs to be listed down: traps and the architecture or whatever the case might be. And then maybe if we wanted to, each individual named one could have some sort of super special ability they get.
They also might take longer. The better they are, the longer they might take to find and recruit because they're so in demand.
True. Yeah, we could make tiers of them. So there could be like better specialists that provide a +10, but they take twice as long to recruit.
This guy takes a week to recruit.
But he'll automatically succeed or something.
Yeah.
By CR. So a 0 to 5 challenge rating, or let's see what.
Well, we wouldn't really give them a challenge rating because they're just the specialists. So maybe it's what the bonus they provide is.
I was
if they provide
conversation, so I was thinking
if they provide a +5 bonus, they take a day to recruit.
But this guy gives me a +7.
If they provide anything up to a +5 takes a day to recruit, which is like then you would obviously if it's up to, you'd always just recruit the one that takes a +5. You wouldn't take one that gives a lower bonus unless they have some sort of special. So I think we should just do it in chunks of
5, 10.
5. Of course, that makes stuff really easy if they're providing a +10 already.
Yeah, I would almost just keep it.
We can fine tune that some more.
But you might need a +10 guy to make a really elaborate trap.
Maybe we do it like a +3, +5, +7. in tiers like that or something.
Okay,
Or what
yeah.
their pluses are, or we'd fine tune it a little bit more. Each person, each specialist, they have one thing that they give a higher bonus to, and then another thing that they give a lesser bonus to.
That works.
So the kobold trap making engineer, he gives a plus 5 to traps specifically because he's really good at traps. But he just gives like a +3 generally to any sort of mechanical engineering thing.
Okay,
Maybe like that, right?
I
Or
like that.
So then you could have one guy that he's like a super focused specialist. He gives a +10 to traps, but that's the only thing he does, or things like that.
Yeah.
That way could be a little bit more variety in what the specialists can do.
And then is time the only thing that's stopping you from recruiting all the guys?
Well, yeah, because it would just take too much time to recruit everybody.
Okay.
I mean, well, unless that's the thing is, it's all you have your time limit. If you want to use most of that time to recruit everyone and then
That's
build a
true.
smaller dungeon that has a higher chance of success for building everything,
That's
you
true.
could definitely do it that way.
I feel like we need to balance successes and failures a little bit better. But yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
that's something we can mess with a bit.
I mean, if you want to have a higher challenge, you don't get to pick your starting 3.
Yeah.
So then you're spending more time trying to recruit the ones that are actually going to work for you.
Or we make it that only your starting 3 are on retainer, and any other time you recruit one, it's only for whatever that one task is.
ooh.
So you have to really make sure it's worth it to recruit them. And then one of the boons being a free specialist recruitment is way more powerful,
Ooh.
I like that. Yeah, that works.
So like, yeah, okay, I can spend 2 days to recruit this guy that has a +10, because that means I'm going to annihilate building whatever this thing is. But then he's gone, and if I decide I want to build another one, I got to go find him again.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one of the specialists could have a special ability that's just like makes it easier to find other specialists. Maybe one of your specialists is just an HR guy. It's just,
So like, I feel like
it's just a normal woman sitting behind a desk. It's just like Meredith, the human resource official. She doesn't get any bonus to any of the dungeon crafting stuff, but she makes it cheaper and easier to get other specialists.
I like that. That's cool.
That would be fun.
But she has to be part of your starting 3.
Yeah, you have to have her from the beginning to get that. You can't bring her in later. So.
I like that. Meredith.
Yeah, Meredith. I mean, it wouldn't be human resources department though. It would be
something.
Fiend resource HR Hobgoblin resource department.
She's with horror resources.
I kind of like that.
HR horror resources. Can recruit a specialist for free.
Is it for free, or she just takes the time down?
Reduces the time always to 1. She can recruit anyone for 1 day instead of.
Yeah.
So she allows you to get those higher level ones easier to do your things or something like that.
Okay. Yep. Can recruit any specialist for 1 day.
I just think she's the inhuman resource.
Inhuman resources. I like that.
Inhuman resources.
Oh, that's good.
Stop it. Go away. It's a little bit obvious, but I think it really works, especially with the slightly tongue-in-cheek kind of way we're doing this.
Oh yeah, I mean, the evil LinkedIn and
yeah, inked in. I like that.
inked in.
I do like inked in.
Because it's all so it's like wanted poster type, but it's like LinkedIn profiles.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, it's a wanted poster, and it's wanted for, and those are their things.
Yeah, exactly. Or in demand instead of wanted. I like it. That could could be a wanted poster.
Yeah.
So, with the
Well, no,
the
you put it like
recruitment-
wanted for like vandalism of property, and then like in parentheses and architecture.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we gotta have a different name because we're recruiting specialists.
Yes.
So when we're getting beasts and undead, what are we gonna
So
call
how about this?
that?
How about this? How about this? We're hiring specialists. We're recruiting intelligent and monsters for the dungeon.
Yeah.
Because the specialists we're paying. The other ones, maybe they're just in it for the love of the game, but we had to go out there and convince them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's up for the recruiter to decide.
All right,
Because you can
so
like an army recruiter. Yeah, sure, they're gonna pay. The people are gonna get paid once they join the army, but he's not paying anyone to get them to come sign up.
Yeah.
He's just convincing them, right? So, and he's talking through what the benefits are for
I
them.
mean, I think
So-
there's the sign-on bonus, but yeah.
Yes, but that's the recruiter doesn't.
Doesn't hand
he
them the
just says like
cash.
that's something you will get. Yeah, he talks up that you get the sign-on bonus, that you get to do this, that will pay for your education, those kinds of things. So, except for in this case, it's like, hey, if you come join this dungeon, you get to kill adventurers. You can take all of the loot that they drop. You can.
What's
Do you
funny is
hate-
there's really nothing stopping the salamanders from just leaving the dungeon. They could walk through the magma curtain.
Yep.
But
So there's they're getting.
it's up
they're
to the
getting paid
beholder
some.
to keep them there. Yeah.
Yeah. The beholder has to provide them with enough of whatever it is they want to keep them.
But that's his
brought
problem.
them. We've brought them in with the promise of X, and then the beholder, if he likes keeping them there, just has to keep supplying that.
And if not, then this room just becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. If not, then yeah, they leave, and then he has to figure something else out. There's still at least the small danger of falling into the lava,
Yeah. You might slip off the wall while you're trying to climb it. Who knows? I mean, Tabaxi, just get a climb speed. They'll be fine.
okay, so for recruitment of creatures, 0 to 5 challenge rating would be a +5. Oh no, 0 to something should be free. What should be free?
The R1.
I think it should be free up to like CR3,
Okay.
right? Because that'll get you like.
Well, the first one's free, and then it increases after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Because you could just put a horde of skeletons.
Well, true, but skeletons are only like CR a quarter.
Yeah, I'm saying like the first one's free,
for,
and then
for,
like
for things like skeletons, like small things like that, it would be there's only a certain number you can get. Yeah.
Well,
Um.
I mean,
you can get an amount of creatures up to the difficulty cap for free. So if it's like a CR1 dungeon, you get 4 skeletons for free.
Yeah, because they're like a quarter challenge rating, I think. That would make sense.
that would. I'm trying to think of like how could you get, because even a CR12 dungeon could potentially have a, if you wanted to try and go for it, a 16 challenge rating creature if everything else is very low.
If everything else is lower, yeah. Maybe how about this? How about it's base the DC is base 10. But if it's something that's lower than the CR rating of the dungeon, you get then that DC gets lowered by some amount. And if you want something that's a higher CR rating than the dungeon, then it goes up. Or maybe the DC is always equal to whatever the CR rating is, minimum of 1.
Yeah.
I just think there just needs to be a limit of how many, because
Well, that's what the stacking difficulty
each
edition
individual
is.
one, each additional creature increases it +1 as well. But the base CR is based on their CR rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, wait. What about this? So a recruitment is DC 10.
Yes.
For a 0 to 3 challenge rating, it's a 0. For a 4 to well, let's just, for sake of this, 4 to 5 is a +5. And then on top of that, for every other creature of that type, it's a +1. So you could have 2 level 5s. One's going to cost you a +5, one's going to cost you a +6. So it's...
That would make your DC 21 already, though.
Yeah.
For just 2 CR5s.
So we would have to change that to like 0 to...
I don't think they're individually adding the 5. I think the type of creature adds the initial amount, and then each additional creature only adds 1 more.
Okay.
So it's a CR. So it would add the 5 because of whatever difficulty it is, which would make it the 15, and then the 1 more would make it a 16.
So like for the salamanders, they're what, CR4? Is it what
They're
you said?
CR. I think they're CR5.
CR5. So
Yeah.
we said that it would be difficulty 10, and then to get the first one, and then the second one, put it up to 11. If you wanted another one, it goes up to 13.
I think. How about this? Yeah. For any creature whose challenge rating is 5 points lower than the challenge rating of the dungeon or more, the DC is always 10. And then +1 for each additional of the same creature, if you're wanting to put a bunch of them in there.
I'm trying to find a way to limit how much math one has to do for this.
It's just an additional 1 per creature. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
We were trying to create, because then if you just, but then if it's always 10, the DC is always 10, then it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to get the highest CR thing I can and just roll the DC 10 to get it, you know? There needs to be some sort of limiting factor, but... How about this? Oh, man.
Because whatever we do, I have to be able to type
How
out
about the
into
DC? How about the DC is equal to the combined CR of the creatures you want to put in the room?
Okay, that works.
So
That
these
is
2 salamanders
easy.
would be a DC of 10 because they were each 5.
That works.
So if you wanted to put 4 salamanders, it would be a DC of 20.
That works.
That minimizes how many other things we want, and that makes it real easy. If you want a DC 16 creature or a CR 16 creature, you got to roll a DC 16. If you want it to have some minions, you're gonna have to roll higher.
So like a level 1 dungeon, I want 4 skeletons. That's 20. I gotta roll.
So if I want to make my mimic library 2, 4, 6, 8,
Oh, jeez.
10, 12, 14. Yeah, I could have quite a few mimics.
And if you have a good recruitment specialist,
Yeah.
they're going to be able to roll pretty high. And the thing is, the failure, unless you crit fail, the failure is just that it takes more time.
True.
You still get it done, so you still get those creatures. It just takes more time if you fail. And like you said, maybe if we tweak the failure success a little bit more to make it like if you fail by a certain amount,
How
it
about
takes even more time or something.
the higher tier creatures take longer to get?
Ooh.
So that would also limit you from because if everything's just
Yeah, you could do that. Creatures up to CR5 take 1 day. Creatures 5 to 10 take 2 days. 10 to 15 if you want to do it that way, or if you want to.
I want like a
spice it up
CR
little bit
20
more.
creature. It's gonna take me 4 days to get it. And if
Or
I
you could-
fail, it takes
20
me.
is divisible by 5 as well, so you could do it. You could do 4. You could do CR 1 to 4. And then CR
Is a day.
Is a day. Yeah, you could go up to 5 days that way. So CR 1 to 4 is a day. 5 to 8 is 2 days. 9 to 12 is 3 days. 13 to 16 is 4 days. So that a CR 20 or a CR 17 or higher creature would cost you 5 days to get.
And then if you fail, that's 10 days
If you
spent trying to
fail
get
the
this
roll,
thing.
that's 10 days. But it's a CR 17 creature.
Oh, I think that's worth
That's
10
like an
days to
adult
get.
dragon, yeah. So most of the time, you're not going to be going that high because the CR on average is going to float more towards that middle range with the randomizer. So
let's see. So 0 to 5. Let's just do
0
0
to-
to 5.
no, 0 to 4.
Okay.
We want to split it into 5. That way it can cost you a whole 5 days to get a really
Yeah,
powerful
it
creature.
would probably be best done in a table format for that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just so I have the notes.
Just
0 to
typing
4,
it up, yeah.
5 to
5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 16, 17 to 20.
I mean, there are higher CR creatures, but we're probably not at that point.
Yeah, if you're going above 20, it costs an extra day. Boom, there you go.
Yeah.
If you're putting a god in your dungeon,
No,
20 plus 6 days.
I'm just gonna get Shar to guard my gold.
I mean, actually, I think like let's see, like I think there's some named creatures, but there's a couple other things that are higher than that. The Tarask, I think, is like a 25 or something.
I'm just gonna get the Hecaton Kyries to.
But yeah, so like if you wanted goblins, it's really easy to get a whole horde of goblins in there.
But if you want the aspect of Bahamut or the Tarask is a 30.
The Tarask is a 30.
Is a 30.
Yeah.
Like great worms that are 28.
Those ones are going to cost you just base 6 days already.
Yeah.
Actually, you could just limit it at 20.
Yeah.
Like the other creatures above 20 are too powerful to be.
You can't recruit one.
Yeah.
Like your recruiter just can't convince them.
Honestly, even a creature up to 20 might not. I mean, look at your client might be a dragon. You're not going to be able. A young silver dragon is 8. That's a young. So yeah. So let's see. It's an adult dragon. An ancient silver dragon is challenge rating 23. So yeah, you can't get an ancient dragon to be in here for a client that's weaker.
I feel like if
it's impossible.
If you're trying to get a creature that's above the challenge rating of the dungeon, a failure means you don't get the creature.
Yes, I would agree with that. You can go for a creature whose challenge rating is higher than the dungeon, but a failure means you waste the time and don't get the creature.
I like that.
Whereas
that's
all up to the dungeon's challenge rating level.
You can absolutely get it.
You can still get them on the failure. It just takes extra time. I like that. Because that stops people from being like, well, I'm just gonna throw an adult bronze dragon at the end of the dungeon and call it good, like.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw this. I'm just gonna throw this CR 57 huge outsider.
Yeah.
It's got 50 heads and 100 arms.
So you can't get anything that's higher than 20 anyways, and to get something that's on those higher tiers,
I'm just gonna throw a pit fiend into this and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's just a room with a pit fiend.
It's doable, and if it's a CR 20 dungeon, then that's reasonable. You might have a pit fiend in there because whatever creature is the client probably has bound it to you can have bound it to their service in some way. So
yeah.
But yeah, I like that. That helps kind of give us very specific rulings for creatures. So that means these salamanders, we were going to get them in there no matter what, but succeeding on that roll meant that it only took the couple of days.
Yeah,
they would have been 2 days. I guess we made them 2 days apiece because they're CR5, so that would increase the days it took to get them in there now. But that's okay because you have more time for the higher challenge rating dungeon as well. So. And then we'll just have to make in the success table. Some of the boons will have to be ones that give you extra time.
Yeah.
That'll be because that's going to be one of your most valuable things trying to build your dungeon.
Yeah.
And obviously, the one thing we could put, and we'll put this in the module, we'll say like, if you just want to use this to be a fun way to build a dungeon and not have the time constraint, go ahead.
Yeah.
But that gives you a fun way to where you have to build it. You can't just go completely hog wild crazy. You have some small constraints
Well, this is a fun role playing way to goof around
build a
with
dungeon. Mm-hmm.
building a dungeon. This is a good
Yep.
like. I'm excited to flesh this out and get it in writing, and then actually.
I think the thing I'm most excited
fully
about
play
is
it.
one, it's just a fun little standalone game that you can do, but at the end of the day, you have also created a dungeon that is fully functional and workable in D&D 5th edition.
Yeah.
So there's an extra little accomplishment out of it, even if you never use it in a game that you play, since you all created it together. One of you goes and play and DMs another campaign or something, or you just give it to a friend and say, "Here, do you need a dungeon?" You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so,
If you have two groups that you play with, or there are two groups that
Yeah.
you know of, you can build dungeons for each other and then have each other run it.
Exactly. Or you just try to build the problem is like if you built it, you'll always know the workarounds to it.
So what you
So-
do?
No, but I mean, like, you build it and you hand it off
to another group. I was trying to think of
Yeah.
a way that you could build them and then try and run it through on your own, but you're still going to know the secrets. So
Yeah.
that's harder to do.
Or what you do is you have like you have two opposing campaigns. You got your heroes and your dungeon builders.
That's true. Your players that can't play as frequently get to be the dungeon builders. That's what,
Yeah.
on the occasional times when they're able to get together, they get to build a dungeon. For the other players that can play like consistently to play,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to tell them like, hey, yeah, your dungeon did really well against them, or nope, they figured it out, you know, and then they try harder the next time. But
They all
Yeah.
died.
they all died. They died in the first room. They never found the switch.
The lava killed them.
The Dragonborn was resistant to fire, so he survived for a long time.
But he wasn't immune.
He wasn't immune.
Oh man.
All right. Well,
Some say that Forge Cleric is still in there.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm excited to come up with some benefits and consequences and start typing this up in that one program that I use for making it look official. Because once
Yeah.
we work
I'll
on
start,
the specialists and fleshing them out,
I'll try and work on a little bit of that this week.
Okay,
I will not be available next weekend.
that's okay.
Just a heads up.
I got work stuff going on, so I'll probably just take the next week, and then it's spring break, so we'll probably be on a hiatus for March.
A couple of weeks. Yeah.
The 5th, the 12th, and the 19th for sure. So pretty much the month of March, but we will be working on this behind the scenes, and try and no, I'm not going to stream anything. So
Mhm.
let's be real. I'm running the ACT. It's a project. So
If you want us to be able to stream consistently and never have to take breaks,
You know what to do.
get all of your friends to subscribe and start building those numbers up.
We would love to.
but
I
until
would
then,
love
it's
to
just a
make
fun
this
thing to
full
do.
time, but you know.
Yeah, but it's unlikely to happen. It'd be cool.
Well,
I'm not
even
gonna
the
pin any
CR
hope
people
to it.
have day jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's true. They're voice actors. But their job is a little bit less constrictive of time.
Yes.
True.
Because
I'm
to
sure
go
they're
do
not
voice
spending
acting,
40 hours a week.
Yeah. You can and you can also, when they're like, hey, we want you to come voice this character, you can probably schedule it out to not conflict with because you just give them your availability, you know.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
most actors are working on multiple jobs. So
Man.
they're gonna ask for your availability or give you like a couple of days, I would assume. Like, can you come in on one of these 3 days to record or
Yeah.
something like that? So but
Speaking of voice actors, man, one of my favorite characters in Guild Wars 2, his name is Canuck. He's like this just grumpy Sylvari. He was voiced by John DiMaggio.
Oh.
Really?
And due to like availability and scheduling conflicts, he's now voiced by Matt Mercer. And no, there's no knock on Mercer. Mercer's a great voice actor, but I mean, he just can't quite get the
It sounds
DiMaggio
different.
isms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can hear the difference.
It's
Yep.
kind of like how John DiMaggio's not gonna be Bender for
Yeah.
the reboot of
Ah.
Futurama, and
So it's gonna suck.
it's like nobody can do.
Nobody can
he
do
is
that.
Bender. He's been Bender for what, 10 years of that show? How long has that show been on?
Whatever.
Longer than that.
However long it ran.
Well, if they're not gonna like bring if they're not gonna take what it brings to bring DiMaggio back, I mean, what's the point? They can bite my shiny metal ass.
Yeah.
7 seasons total. So
I
Yeah.
feel like it had a good run. Just let it go.
let it go.
All right, guys. I think I'm gonna
Yep.
call it a night.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you everybody for watching, and we will. I mean, just keep an eye out for this. This is going to be fun. So, bye.
Bye.
Bye.